Hi class, this is Garrett Cox, and I want to discuss my research project for the Christian Heritage class. I am in Georgia, and I have taught Georgia history in the past, and I thought something to do with Georgia would be a good start. And the beginnings of Georgia as a colony were interesting to me as I taught the subject, and and as I've continued to learn more about history and things like that. And we actually lived near Savannah. I grew up there, and so the history there is intriguing to me. And as you learn more about it, you see things in modern day Savannah, and you realize, okay, this is really cool. Because Oglethorpe landed here. River Street and Bay Street and all that, what it looks like now, well, there's maps and images and things that show the landing on the bluff, Yamacraw Bluff, and that is basically River Street. If you've ever been there, it has the River Street part is way down by the water, and then you have this rise up to Bay Street, and that's the bluff. And so that's always really cool stuff like that. And of course the forts and all kinds of things around Savannah are really awesome too. But I wanted to focus on kind of the religious aspects of the founding of the colony of Georgia. There was a group of trustees in England, and they wanted to create a colony for the worthy poor. And James Oglethorpe, most famous of the trustees and the only trustee ever to go to the colony of Georgia, was kind of in charge of prison reform in England, and he was seeing a lot of people in prison for things that were kind of trivial, like not paying back their debts, and so they're in prison for debt, but they can't pay it back while they're in prison anyways. And so it was just kind of this big problem. And so he sought to give those people a second chance and open up a colony. Now, obviously there are other reasons why the king would want a colony. He would want it to be economically beneficial. It would be militarily beneficial. And again, it would get those people kind of a population release almost from England. Obviously it's an island, and so you only have so much space to go around, and so they would open this up. Now, other groups went to Georgia besides those worthy poor, those debtors, and some were even invited. There were some Scottish Highlanders who were invited, who were famous for their military skill, and they kind of got stationed further south towards Florida to kind of protect against the Spanish. And that's what you see around Darien and Brunswick and down there, in Glenn County. You see remnants of those things. But religious freedom was a big deal. People came to America, to these colonies for to seek religious freedom, and this is no different in the 13th colony of Georgia. There is even, back in my home county, in Effingham County, there is a church that is the oldest church to have continuous Sunday services. All right, so obviously there were other churches that started, but they have either since stopped having Sunday services, or they only have periodic services. And this church, Jerusalem Lutheran Church at Ebenezer Creek, is the longest continually serving Sunday services. So that's pretty cool. But I kind of wanted to see the religious aspects of this founding. And so as I researched, I found, of course, I used the Charter of Georgia, the document that the king signed, and has all the rules and everything. There's speeches from later on, but they remembered the founding of Georgia with the trustees, and they kind of had an anniversary every year for this. There's the Georgia Historical Quarterly is a great source for this. There's a New Georgia Encyclopedia website that's really good, talks about the Anglican Church and how it was supported and kind of influenced the beginnings of Georgia. Obviously, you have different groups. You have English settlers, you have German settlers, you have the Salzburgers who are coming from Austria. They were kind of booted out of their land, and turns out that my wife is a descendant of the Salzburgers, so we have another connection there. It's pretty cool. So the Salzburgers come, and they're the ones who found that church in Ebenezer, Jerusalem Lutheran Church there, and obviously it looked a lot different, but they landed at Ebenezer Creek and thought it was a good place to build their church. John Wesley traveled and preached in Georgia. There are other famous preachers that preached in Georgia as well. George Whitefield was famous for being in Savannah and founding a boys' home, an orphanage there, which is still in operation today. Bethesda Boys' Home is still there. I looked at some Christian founding documents. Did America have a Christian founding? And kind of discussed not only the colony of Georgia, but just in general, when people are founding America, did they have influence of religion? So that's kind of tying into the topic. Again, just some articles discussing the beginning of Georgia and how things, just the processes and the situations that they confronted, and meeting with Indians and having interpreters and things like that. So that's kind of along the lines of my research, and just kind of hoping to find the real impact of the religious issues of the time. Thank you.